Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. Today is Thursday, August 19th. I'm Stephanie Haney. Thank you for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. You know, this is something we've been talking about for a while, that businesses can require you to show proof of a COVID-19 vaccine. Well, here in Northeast Ohio, more than a dozen businesses are banding together to do just that, with the coronavirus cases on the rise as we continue to see those high numbers here in Ohio. So here are the venues banding together with a new policy in Northeast Ohio: the Agora, the Beachland Ballroom and Tavern, the Bop Stop, the Foundry, the Grog Shop, Happy Dog, Jilly's Music Room, May Hall's, Music Box Supper Club, Musica, the Night Light, the Rialto Theater, West Side Bowl, and the Winchester. Those are the ones that have opted into this policy so far. So you either have to show proof of a COVID-19 vaccine or of a negative COVID test within 48 hours of entering any of those venues. And of course, there may potentially be more that join in this policy. The policy will take effect no later than Tuesday, September 7th, at all of those venues. These restrictions, they say, will remain in place indefinitely and are subject to change as the current public health conditions change and guidance is reevaluated. So now let's take a look at the COVID-19 numbers here in Ohio. And today, another day with more than 3,000 reported new COVID-19 cases. The 21-day average is now at 2,140, being drawn up by these high numbers of cases. Today, 3,446 new reported COVID-19 cases, according to the Ohio Department of Health. And there are now 1,674 people being hospitalized, being treated for COVID-19. That's 33 more than yesterday. Of those people, 511 are currently being treated in the ICU. That's 16 more than yesterday. Let's take a look at the Ohio vaccination picture. Right now, more than 5.5 million Ohioans, are fully vaccinated against COVID-19, almost 8,700 more in the last 24 hours, and a little over 47% vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, experts say, as a reminder, that herd immunity level we want to get to is 70 to 85%. And Ohio has been stalled in this 47% range for a number of weeks now. And we've seen Governor Mike DeWine calling for schools to put into place their own mask mandates because he says there's not an appetite for it now at the state level. Well, current mayor of Dayton, Nan Whaley, is calling him out on that, saying today that he needs to stop putting politics ahead of public health and demonstrate leadership by issuing a statewide mask mandate for K through 12 schools. Now, it was on Tuesday that DeWine brought up the fact that he can't put a mandate into place. That's not exactly factually accurate. He can issue an order with a mandate, but what might happen is Ohio's legislature might override that, because when Governor DeWine vetoed Senate Bill 22 and the legislature overrode that veto, that gave them the ability to reject any of the governor's or the health department's health orders. So the governor could put such a mandate into place, but the legislature could turn right around and override that health order. So it's not to say it couldn't happen, but what he is saying is there's not an appetite for it across the state right now. Now, what Nan Whaley is saying is that what he means to say is there was opposition from Republicans in the state house. So the two are at odds over what exactly that means, that the state house did pass the ability to override those orders from Governor DeWine. Now, again, Governor DeWine is asking, just short of begging, actually, schools across Ohio to have children wear masks in schools if they can't be vaccinated. He says it's the best way to protect them is to send them to school with masks. And he also reminded parents, even if your school is not requiring a mask, you can send your child to school in a mask. Now, if you are someone who is experiencing financial trouble related to COVID-19, there is still help available for you. The federal moratorium on evictions for everyone nationwide has come to an end, but the CDC did put in place a limited moratorium on evictions. It covers most of Ohio, but not necessarily all of Ohio, depending on the varying level of COVID spread in the area. Now, we have significant transmission across Ohio right now, but if you're not in one of those categories, then that extension through October 3rd doesn't apply to you. But right now, for those categories where there is a lot of COVID-19 spread, that moratorium extends through October 3rd. regardless, there is money available for you. It was back in May that Governor DeWine gave the green light for $465 million in funding for people who haven't been able to pay their rent because of COVID-19. This was HB 167, so it can be used to cover electricity, gas, trash, water, home energy, and internet services in some situations. Now, your eligibility is based on your household size and the number of people, the amount of money coming into your household. There's a breakdown of what's available on WKYC.com. We have it broken down by county. And if you want to go directly to it, text the word rent to 216-344-3300. We will send you a link directly so that you can see what might be available in your county to help you if you are in one of those situations where you've been struggling financially related to COVID-19. Taking a look at the national stage, there was a motorcade that started today here in the Cleveland area that will be heading to the 9/11 memorials. This year, on September 11th, it'll be the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attack. So in order to mark that, a group called Flags Across America is starting from Cleveland. It'll make its way to the Flight 93 Memorial Site in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and then from there, it'll go on to the other memorial sites for 9/11. Now, Charlie McGeever, who is the Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association, says they do this in August, so they aren't going to affect the events on 9/11. You know, there's significant events happening there, particularly in New York, which is where they plan to go to some of those memorial sites. So they started today from the Rock and Roll City Harley-Davidson on West 150th at 10 a.m. and they are making their way to Pennsylvania. More national news that could impact you here in Ohio. The U.S. will be erasing $5.8 billion in student loan debt for people with severe disabilities. President Joe Biden's administration today announced that it's going to automatically erase that student loan debt for more than 300,000 Americans. This is for people with severe disabilities that don't have the ability to earn a significant income. And it will wipe out almost $6 billion in student loan debt. That's according to the Education Department. Now, this is part of a broader overhaul that's been criticized for the rules associated with it. This isn't a new program. The federal government does offer student debt relief for people who are totally and permanently disabled and have limited incomes, but the current rules for it are tough for people to comply with. You need to submit documentation of your disability, and you also have to submit to a 3-year monitoring period to prove that you are earning little pay. And what we've found is tens of thousands of people have dropped out of the program and had their loans reinstated just because they didn't submit proof of their earnings. And critics say it's complex and it just deters people from applying. So what advocates have pushed the Department of Education for is to eliminate that monitoring period entirely and also provide automatic debt relief to people who the Social Security Administration has already determined to be permanently disabled, eliminating some of that red tape and some of that double work across our federal agencies. So under this new action, both of those demands will be met. Starting in September, the Education Department will start erasing that student loan debt for, again, 323,000 Americans that are identified in Social Security records as permanently disabled. Borrowers will be notified once they've been approved, and all of those loans are expected to be discharged by the end of 2021. So those people can expect to start 2022 with a clean slate when it comes to that student loan debt. Now, student loan debt, huge conversation. Lots of people talking about the possibility that President Biden might forgive student loan debt for more people beyond the people who are permanently disabled. U.S. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona said that the conversations are still underway assessing what's legal when it comes to mass student loan debt forgiveness. Now, here's an interesting story out of Lebanon, Ohio. There is a conversation about a woman who passed away and the husband of that woman convicted of murder, but his family is now saying that they believe her DNA can prove that he is innocent. Ryan Widmer, he is a brother of the person who was convicted of the killing. He said he learned his sister-in-law died, and he learned that his brother was accused of her killing in nearly the same breath. So it's been 10 years since this happened. There have been 3 trials and there have been 2 convictions, and he believes that her DNA will prove it's Sarah Widmer is the woman who died, and the man, her husband, who has been held responsible for that, is Ryan Widmer. Well, Ryan's family believes that she had a genetic disorder called long QT syndrome type 7 that would cause irregular heartbeats and would have accounted possibly for her death. Now, Sarah Widmer was found in her bathtub in 2008, and police quickly zeroed in on Ryan Widmer, partly because her body was dry when they found them, and it was just minutes after he had called 911 to report that he had found her submerged in water in the bathtub. They had only been married for 4 months at the time that she died. Now, in statements after that, Ryan described Sarah as walking on her tippy toes and suffering from headaches and frequently feeling fatigued, all things that could possibly be related to this medical condition that could potentially have accounted for her death. And so the family of Ryan say that jurors should have been allowed to consider that and that they want her DNA tested. Now, Warren County Prosecutor David Fornshell did not respond for comment about this. Gary Widmer said the prosecutor has declined to release the DNA because he doesn't believe it would have changed the juror's verdict. But this is definitely something that we will continue to be following, and we'll keep you updated with any new information that we learn. DNA is such a big part of the conversation right now when it comes to overturning convictions, but it's not typically the DNA of the victim. It's not typically tied to a medical condition. It's more about tying people to evidence that you couldn't previously tie them to. That's more what we're used to seeing. So this would definitely be a twist to that story. And with it being Thursday, it's almost the end of the week. I'd say this is probably a great time for your good news break. It's All Good News drops on our WKYC YouTube page every Wednesday at 1 p.m. And this week, it is nothing short of tons of smiles. Great stories in there. There's a brand new baby that just arrived at the Akron Zoo, the first of its kind to ever be born there, actually. And it's a very special looking creature. You're going to want to check that out. Also, we have the story of a Cleveland lady who got some special visitors in her own backyard, kind of creating a nice little area for them. You'll want to see that. And Larry the dog, who fancies himself a bit of an artist, got himself into a little bit of trouble. You're not going to be able to look at that story without smiling. I can promise you that. It's called It's All Good News. Again, every Wednesday at 1 p.m. We put that out for you on the WKYC YouTube page. And that is it for your 3 News Now update today for Thursday, August 19th. I'll see you next up on What's New with your trending stories in the Clicking in Cleveland segment, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for more 3 News Now.